Alright, man, peace. So for those of you brothers who've been on my channel long enough, you know that I do follow boxing very closely. I think that it's the greatest sport in the world. Why is that? Because sports, in its essential nature, is meant to convey all the aspects and characteristics of humanity, particularly relating to what comes out of a person when they're put in dire straits, when they're put in adversity. Do they show resolve or do they crumble under the pressure? We see that exhibited to the highest degree in one-on-one sports, whether it's tennis, boxing, mixed martial arts, etc. But to me, boxing is the most technical of any sport, and I'm sure that there will be people out there who disagree. But for anyone who's ever boxed before, you understand that the level of technique has to be trained to the nth degree in boxing. Well, this weekend there is a major fight. Why do I say that it's major? Relatively major, because not many people are talking about it, but it will have repercussions for the welterweight division. And that is a bout between Mr. Manny Pacquiao and Lucas Matthysse, who at one time was viewed as the most dangerous man in boxing. Around 2012, 2013, Lucas Matthysse was being built up by the boxing media as the person that everyone was scared of. He had knocked out Lamont Peterson, I believe, in 1 or 2 rounds. The only person who had beaten him at the time, I believe, was Zab Judah, who himself had been knocked down at least once in that fight. I'm trying to remember if he was knocked down more than once, but he was knocked down at least once in their fight when Zab Judah squared up against Lucas Matthysse. Well, the Lucas Matthysse hype train pretty much got derailed when he got outboxed by Danny Swift Garcia on the undercard of Floyd Mayweather's mega bout against Canelo Alvarez. Well, Lucas Matthysse had been able to build back up his name since signing with Top Rank, even though he was dismantled by Victor Postal setting up that huge fight against Terence Crawford. It's obvious to me that whoever wins this fight this Saturday night will be Terence Crawford's next opponent. I have very little doubt about that. Terence Crawford is being ballyhooed to fight Amir Khan, who we all know has a chin made out of cotton candy. So after Terence Crawford stops him most likely in 4 or 5 rounds, his next opponent will be the winner of this fight come this Saturday. And once again, for those of us who follow boxing, we know that Terence Crawford was originally supposed to be fighting Manny Pacquiao for the WBO belt, I believe it is, that Terence Crawford has. Yes, I believe he has the WBO belt. Pacquiao was the WBO champion. He fought Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn got the decision. So Terence Crawford had to beat Jeff Horn to get that belt. He'd wanted to beat Pacquiao because it was supposed to symbolize a passing of the torch. Well, according to Pacquiao, he's not ready to retire. He claims that he feels 28 years old. And based on his performance in this up-and-coming fight against Lucas Matthysse, which I expect to be a barn burner, that is going to determine how much further Manny Pacquiao wants to go in his career. So anyway, I just caught this article here. It says Manny Pacquiao applies final touches to his preparations as he hits the pads at his gym in Malaysia ahead of world title fight against Lucas Matthysse. Once again, Lucas Matthysse is known for having devastating punching power. He is from Argentina. Argentinians are known for being extremely strong, going all the way back to certain fights like Muhammad Ali against Oscar Bonavena. The legendary champion Jack Dempsey had a classic bout against an Argentinian by the name of Louis Firpo, if I remember correctly, who knocked Jack Dempsey out of the ring. Of course, the legend Floyd Mayweather had a couple of classic bouts, or at least one classic bout against Marcos Maidana, who clearly was trying to take his head off. So there's a history of Argentinian fighters being extremely competitive, very strong, and very powerful. So Pacquiao will have to watch out. He's on record as stating that he believes that this fight will not go the distance. I agree with him. This is certainly a fight that can go either way. I can see either man winning by stoppage. I definitely don't believe that it's going to go the distance. I think that Pacquiao could stop Matthysse in around round 8. But if Matthysse were to stop Pacquiao, it would probably come early, either rounds 3 or 4. But as of right now, I'm going to pick Manny Pacquiao in 8 rounds. I think that he's going to move around too much for Matthysse, set traps for him, and probably get the stoppage in around rounds 7 or 8. I think that he's going to knock Matthysse down at least once in those first 8 rounds. It's also possible that Matthysse may knock Pacquiao down. Once again, if Matthysse does win the fight, which wouldn't shock me, it would most likely be by a knockout in the 3rd or 4th round. Pacquiao, I'm picking to win the fight most likely in about 7 or 8 rounds. So let's see what they have to say in this article here. As we can see, Manny is training for the fight. He looks in very good condition, as usual. It says Manny Pacquiao is applying the final touches to his preparations ahead of his 12th world title fight against Lucas Matthysse this weekend. The Filipino has his eyes firmly fixated on the job at hand and cut a focused figure as he worked out at his gym in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on Wednesday morning. I'm trying to remember, why do I remember the name of that city? I believe that Muhammad Ali fought there. I'm trying to remember who he fought. I think he fought Joe Bugner there. The Joe Bugner rematch, I believe, was fought in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The 39-year-old gave the media a glimpse of what is to come as he practiced his footwork and hit the pads with ferocity. Pacquiao is a great puncher. I remember when he fought against Floyd Mayweather. In the corner in between rounds, Floyd Mayweather Sr. was asking Floyd how come he would not come forward. And Floyd was looking at him like he was stupid. It was obvious why he was not coming forward, because Pacquiao was hitting extremely hard and he throws very awkward punches. And Floyd was just not going to try to walk him down, while Pacquiao was throwing those extremely fast, extremely hard punches from weird angles. He was trying to draw him into deep water so that he can go for the late stoppage. If you guys remember, I believe it was around round 11 where Floyd tried to step it up against Pacquiao. But even in round 11, he was wary of what was coming back, because Pacquiao can punch. He can punch extremely hard. Every once in a while, there will be certain boxing fans who will say, well, I don't think that Pacquiao punches that hard. It's very obvious that that cat punches very hard. I've never seen a fighter who fought Manny Pacquiao that said he couldn't punch. Even Shane Mosley said that Manny Pacquiao's punches had a strange amount of power to them. Now, if you want to associate that with any performance-enhancing drugs, you can do that. It is what it is. But there's no doubt in my mind that Pacquiao has always had great power. I think he has great natural power. Do I believe that he was on PEDs at some point? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. Just my opinion of it. Just my opinion. Let's see here. Pacquiao has recently admitted he is considering closing the curtain on his storied career, but that the decision hinges on the outcome of this fight. With that in mind, Pacquiao has ensured no stone has been left unturned in what has been one of the longest training camps of his career. Let me say this. When fighters get old like Manny Pacquiao, when they get up into their late 30s and they have these long training camps, oftentimes they leave it in the gym. That's why I stated, do not be shocked if Lucas Matthysse sparks Manny very early in the fight, rounds 3 or 4. I think that Manny also could spark Lucas, because Matthysse has shown that, like most great power punchers, he also is susceptible to being knocked out himself. Most great power punchers are normally very vulnerable, especially to the body. So it would not shock me to see Manny wear him down and probably stop him in around round 7 or 8. But also due to the fact that Manny has had a very long training camp and Matthysse has great one-punch knockout power, if Matthysse were to win the fight, it would most likely be by a knockout in rounds 3 or 4. The WBA welterweight belt, as well as his career and a potential blockbuster fight against Amir Khan, will all be on the line on Saturday. Well, supposedly, Terence Crawford is also in the running for an Amir Khan fight. So we'll see what happens with that. Amir Khan is one of those fighters who's always going to be one of the top contenders because he's from Britain. He's a Pakistani, so he'll have a huge market, a huge fan base following behind him. And he can talk a good game. So he's always going to be one of the top contenders. They'll make him one of the top contenders in boxing in the weight class because of everything that he brings to the table. Let's see here. Pacquiao says he feels 28 again after modifying his regime of fitting training in his political career as a Philippine senator, and will need to summon a devastating performance of the old Pac-Man if he is to win and become a world champion for the 12th time. Says here, Pacquiao has admitted the outcome of this fight will determine whether or not he retires. I'm sure. And that's why oftentimes great fighters, especially once again in their late 30s, they'll put themselves in the ring against a devastating knockout puncher just to see if they still have that dog. Muhammad Ali fought Earnie Shavers in 1977, late in his career. He was able to weather that fight, very, very fortunate to win that fight, because there were multiple times in that fight where it was very clear that had Earnie Shavers had faster feet and been able to close the distance better, he could have knocked Ali out. He could have got the stoppage. He hit Ali with a right hand, I believe, in the second round that knocked him all the way across the ring and had him holding onto the rope. And I had never seen Muhammad Ali react to a punch like that before. Earnie Shavers, for those of you who don't know, is probably the hardest puncher in the history of boxing. He's certainly top 5. You have to talk about Earnie Shavers, George Foreman, Mike Tyson at heavyweight. You have Julian Jackson at middleweight, light middleweight. Those are some of the most devastating punchers in fighting history. No doubt about it, Earnie Shavers, one of the most devastating punchers ever. So Pacquiao is putting himself in that same predicament fighting against Lucas Matthysse. And I think he wants to see if he still has that dog in him. The 6-weight world champion said he feels 28 again after his 2-month training camp. Yeah, well, we'll see. He has prepared for 12 rounds, but recently said he doesn't expect this one to go the distance. Neither do I, Manny. Neither do I. I think that Manny knows that Matthysse is very vulnerable to body punches. He's very vulnerable to a power puncher like a Pacquiao himself. Matthysse is also very dangerous, so we're going to find out a lot of things in this fight. Matthysse, a hard-hitting world champion who has knocked out 36 of his 39 victims, represents formidable opposition, but Pacquiao is prepared to meet him punch for punch. The 6-weight world champion says he is ready to go 12 rounds, but in an honest assessment admitted he doesn't expect this one to go the distance. His Argentinian opponent is highly motivated for this fight and has been also slaving away in the gym ahead of fight night. Matthysse too trained on Wednesday and is confident of registering the biggest scalp of his career by beating Pacquiao this weekend in Malaysia. And for those of you brothers out there who follow boxing, you'll know that not only does Matthysse fight, but his whole family fights. His entire family boxes, including his sisters. Pacquiao and Matthyse's fight will be shown live on Box Nation, with the transmission due to start around midnight and the ring walks around 2 a.m. Pacquiao's Argentinian opponent Matthysse also looked focused as he trained on Wednesday. Okay, there he is jumping rope, hitting the speed bag. All right, so now that's pretty much it on that. We'll see how this fight goes. Peace.